Welcome to the Spotlight segment. This is a segment dedicated to interviews with developers or interesting happenings in the world of Android. And now for this week's episode, here's your Spotlight.
And up next, since we're on the subject of tablets, our friend Joe Hodge, who unboxed the Lenovo Legion Gaming Tab Gen 3 for us a few weeks ago, maybe a few months at this point, but he finally has a review for us, and here it is.
Hi, this is Joe here with a quick follow-up to my unboxing that I did a few months ago on the Lenovo Y700, as it's known in China, or the Lenovo 8-inch gaming tablet, super original, as it's known in America. So I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this thing. I still have it, and there are a few annoyances, I think, for folks who might want this device to know about. The first, John has covered this in discussing the Motorola phone that I found interesting, and I don't know if this is like a certain Chinese vendor type thing, but talkback fluctuates like super annoyingly. I think it's tied to Dolby Atmos, but the thing is, on the built-in speakers on this, like it has Dolby Atmos on, but I cannot turn it off. Like it's completely disabled. So if you go into settings and you go to sound, like you can see Dolby Atmos on for the external, or the, I think it just says external speakers, but you can't turn it off. Now, if you use headphones, then, or another speaker, like a Bluetooth speaker or whatever, then you can actually turn them off, like, or turn off a Dolby. But as soon as you unplug it, it's back to doing its thing. And the crazy thing is, obviously, when you turn it off and you use these external devices, then you don't have the talkback fluctuating in volume. But it is like, it's like almost every other syllable kind of thing. It's very up and down, which is really annoying. The lock screen has a different volume than the main volume of the device. So when you unlock it, it's like super quiet, and then all of a sudden, like, it could get to super loud. So I'm not a fan of like weird volume and fluctuations or changes like that. Like I kind of want it where I want it, and it feels like I don't have control of the device, which is very odd and a very odd feeling. So I don't know. It's very interesting to kind of have that problem. The second major problem for me, and honestly, I would have sent it back had I not like thrown out the boxes and all these things. But I'm kind of getting through. I'm using it with a keyboard, I guess, more, and it is a tablet, so it's not like something I'm using like every day, or I have to have it on the go, so it is okay. But the Braille screen input does not work. I mentioned this to John, super helpful, like troubleshooting this stuff sometimes, and he had mentioned like Ed had ran into this like on a Xiaomi or something, and maybe to leave one finger down but like kind of lift the other. I kind of had that hack. iOS at one point didn't allow you to do 6-finger input on the phone, and if you would sort of have 5 fingers down, then lift like 1 or 2, and then put that last finger down, it would do the 4. But yeah, nothing I seem to do works. I think it's because Lenovo ties a lot of gestures into their gaming tablet. So like for example, for them, a 3-finger tap is something, a 3-finger swipe does something. It's very like UI driven, and I cannot disable those commands. Like they will not, like I go into gestures, I can see them, but it will not let me like just disable them. It has been actually updated pretty frequently, which is pretty cool. I got it. It came with Android 15. Now it's, you know what? I may be lying to you. It may have came with Android 14, and that because Android's moving at such a fast pace these days. I think it came with 14, and then I updated it to 15. But I got an update yesterday it had been off for quite some time. But security patches seem to be staying up to date, and Android 16, I think, is coming. So that is exciting. I mean, I think Android 16 or 17 is the last version that I will get, though, because it's only supported for 2 or 3 versions. So the overall sound quality, like once you have media playing, it's much better. So one hack to the TalkBack thing is to get sound playing. John had a white noise app, and I have been using that, and that does help a little bit with the fluctuation of volume. So for whatever reason, it kind of calms it down a bit. It still happens, but it's not as noticeable, or it's less irritating than when you have no media playing. I guess the other major thing here is a lot of the features that this thing has when it comes to gaming are really not accessible, or they're only accessible while you're gaming. So one of the features I was kind of actually excited about was this ability to basically tell the thing like, hey, I don't want you to be I don't want you to draw any power because I got you plugged in, and basically you just shut the power completely off. So basically it wouldn't be charging the battery. It would just basically just be using your electric from the wall. And they tell you how to access this, and I've tried even doing it while playing a game, and I just cannot get to the menu with TalkBack. It just does not let me access the sort of gaming features that I could turn this on or off. So I don't know. So some of the features it actually has that I was sort of excited about, sadly, are not even accessible to TalkBack, which is a little frustrating. So, I mean, like I said, to be honest, I would have sent the device back had I not thrown the box away like an idiot. But I'm sort of stuck with it, and it's okay. It was a lesson I learned. But I mean, I'm gonna kind of finish the review by saying some good things. Voice dictation works super well. It's very fast. It's feels much more like how it would feel on a OnePlus. The Snapdragon processor that's in it, I think it's the Gen 3, is really solid. I've never had any problems with it. It performs super well, no lag. There's just it does feel good. The haptics are pretty impressive. They're better than my Samsung tablet. They're much more pixelish or OnePlus-ish, I guess, from what I remember from OnePlus. So I do enjoy that. And I enjoy the bigger screen. Navigating content is TalkBack is so fast on it. I'm one of my annoyances on the Pixel is that sometimes when I'm moving around, just even using Explore by Touch, there's just a little bit of lag. It feels like, but this just I'm moving my finger. It feels much more like a Samsung type of device, even though you're more. You get less sort of interference in that way. So, I mean, if Braille screen input could work, if I could find a way to figure out that, and if I could find, maybe even a way to access some of these hardware things that it offers that I just can't, I mean, I'd be super happy with this thing. But I am finding more uses for it these days. So, I mean, it's, it is, getting better and better. But I do think you should be aware of those things if you're in the market for it. So would I buy it again? Probably not, to be honest. I mean, it was, I think it was $450, $500, something like that. I think I got it on sale for $470. It might have been $475. But regardless of all that, I mean, it just, there's a lot of, I want to be able to use Braille screen input. I want to be able to, use the things that make TalkBack great. I will say with descriptions and whatnot, Gemini descriptions, it works fine. There's one oddity that I've not ever seen from a device before. So the side button, I'll call it the side button. It will trigger Gemini, but the other odd thing is the longer you hold it down. So like I kind of get in a habit where I will just hold the button. I don't even know if you're really supposed to or not, to be honest. Probably don't have to, but I guess it goes back to my Samsung days where, I'm just kind of used to holding in the button while I'm talking to Bixby or whatnot, and or dictating. And so I'll just hold in the button, and what'll happen is if you hold it in, for a while, the power menu comes up. So it's kind of weird in that way that the side button is a Gemini trigger, but also is the actual power button. So you can kind of do both. It's not like, a Pixel or a Samsung where you have to, use the power button plus a volume key. This seems to matter how long you actually hold it, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if all Lenovo devices work that way, but it's definitely sort of an oddity that I've seen. But yeah, I mean, I can't complain about the performance. I will say one other, I guess I keep saying one more thing, but these things just kind of keep coming in my head. The settings, the layout is your traditional sort of tablet style. So you have on the left-hand side your options, on the right-hand side your actual settings for that option. So like, you'd have a general system on the left, and then on the right you would have those options for those categories, whatever is selected. But scrolling in settings works very odd. It's actually, you cannot use swiping on the left-hand side for very long. It just gets out of order. It gets a little chaotic. So what I've found is I will just use Explore by Touch in settings, and that works a lot better. I don't know why it's so chaotic there, but it really just, there's something broken. Now, I have not tried it since the new security update, so maybe Lenovo has fixed something there, but it's been that way since I've had the tablet, and then when I updated to Android 15, same thing. So I will say, I've had Samsung tablets update every, I think, quarter, so they're a little slower. This seems to be updating a lot faster. Motorola, obviously, from what I've seen them, they're like a year behind. So Lenovo's actually not doing bad when it comes to keeping you up to date. So I just, if I ever buy another Lenovo product, I would want to make sure braille screen input works and maybe the sound doesn't be all crazy. So anyway, that's a quick review of the Lenovo Y700 or the Lenovo gaming laptop, or gaming tablet 8-inch. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to josephlhodge@gmail.com. If you're wanting this device, I'm happy to, maybe talk with you about some of the things, or if you want me to try something, and, I can do it as long as if I have the equipment and can do it. So thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Joe, for that review of yours of the tablet. So there we are. It all boils down to, you have some of these conflicts Joe was mentioning in his review, most especially if you're doing Braille, for example. I'm talking of virtual Braille keyboard here. Some of those gestures conflict with the native gestures of the tablet, because they're intending this for people to be able to use those gestures, and sometimes some of these gestures kind of conflict with our talkback gestures. So it becomes, could I say it becomes a problem? Yeah, it sure apparently becomes a problem, doesn't it, John?
They don't let us disable. Like, I just wish they'd give us some gestures you can disable, like the two-finger tap, or three-finger tap, I should say, or three-finger swipe to like take screenshots or take scrolling screenshots that a lot of these manufacturers implement. They usually implement a way to disable them, and even in the for example, with the OnePlus, they are disabled when you enable TalkBack. So even if you don't go into the settings and disable them, they will not work when TalkBack is running anyway. So a lot of the manufacturers do fix this, but when they don't fix it, it's a mess because, you know, like in the case of this, there's this really neat gesture where you can just swipe left or right with 3 fingers to switch apps, change between open apps, which is a nice thing to have on a tablet. But obviously that conflicts with TalkBack. While regular TalkBack gesture 3-finger gestures do work, when you bring up the Braille keyboard, because it's in pass-through mode, anytime you tap the screen or touch the screen with 3 fingers, it's those gestures kind of override the keyboard, and you're unable to type efficiently on the Braille keyboard. There is some workarounds where, like, if you put 2 fingers down, if you know you're gonna do a 3-dot letter, you'd have to put 2 fingers down, wait a second, and then add the third, and then remove the fingers at the same time to type a letter that contains 3 or more dots. And it's like, if you're gonna have to think that hard about how you're typing on the Braille keyboard, it's not even worth trying to use it. So it is disappointing that they don't allow you to turn these sort of features off that they clearly add having no idea how TalkBack works or not caring how TalkBack works.
Yeah, that would be a royal pain. So I'm typing letter P in Braille, for example. So I probably need to put my fingers on dots 2 and 3 and then add dot 1 and then dot 4. No, I wouldn't be using a virtual Braille keyboard on that tablet, for example. So I can see where that would be a problem. But there's something, though, that you mentioned where I see the usefulness of that. In other words, changing apps. And also another thing is that with tablets, it makes it easier if you're running 2 apps side by side or whatever. You have more real estate room compared to when you do those on the phone. So that's another plus that goes to the tablets, especially if you want to run 2 apps simultaneously and having enough room to do things. So I can see how that could be.